Week 2, lift day 1. We're going to be decreasing the reps to 9 and increasing the weight. That's why we're tracking our workouts, right guys? So we can see what we did last week and what to improve on this week, right? We want to up the weight. And that's why those notes are important, right? Because sometimes the numbers won't tell you everything. They might not say what you struggled on or what you did really well on, so you can adjust accordingly. Sometimes the numbers there just won't tell the whole story. It's kind of like when you were doing your calorie deficit, right? Sure, you're lowering your calories, you're losing weight, losing fat, but is it enjoyable? You want to make those correlations with the food that you're eating and how your progress is going along with the numbers that you're using, right? So same thing with lifting. Yes, we want to keep increasing our weight to get stronger, but you have to take notes of those things where you struggled, so you could maybe decrease it a little bit, chuck the ego, and decrease the weight, so that's doable and you'll still progress. Or if it was just a little too simple, then maybe you got to challenge yourself more, right? So this is always a continuous feedback loop that you give to yourself. One thing I was telling you guys to buy that will help as well are these little microplates. So these are 0.5 pounds, right? So something like the overhead press, which is what I'm going to do today. As you get to the heavier weights, might not be this week, but later on the road, week 6, week 7, once we start getting to the 5 rep range, it may be difficult to realistically progress 5 pounds each week, right? That's 2.5 pounds aside. So you can, like, adding 0.5 and 0.5, so 1 pound may be a little bit more realistic than going up by 5 pounds, you know what I mean? So that's the reason why you do this. You still want to progress, but if you're limited to the equipment you have in the gym, then what are you going to do? So take control and use what you got available. So it's a lot easier to progress 1 pound a week than 5 pounds a week sometimes, right? Especially on these harder lifts, like the overhead press. So just something to think about, guys. If you don't have that, I would encourage you to purchase them. So it might not happen, you might not need them for another few weeks, but if you order it now, it should be with you in time when those struggles may happen. All right, so I'm off. We'll see how it goes this week. All right, take care. Pretty nice day out, but still parked furthest in the lot. It's just a habit, guys. Get into that. Just park as far as you can. If you're able to, walk, man. In the summer, people will make excuses. It's too hot, right? But that's the mentality why people don't succeed. They have this simplistic, easy mentality. But park as far as you can, get your steps in, and avoid all these guys with their crappy parking habits and dinging your doors. All right, let's see how this goes. Week 2, lift day 1 complete. Felt really good today. Strong, and the notes helped. I mean, you really know how to prepare for the upcoming lift session, right? When you look back. So even though you may have made mistakes, it's not really a mistake if you learn from it, right? And I did. This day was awesome. As you notice in the video, I tried to highlight certain things in the overhead press. You'll notice this is the 4th set, by the way, even the rows. You'll notice that I stopped at the top around the 7th rep, I think. And what I'm doing there is actually breathing and bracing, like that video I showed you. So if you're getting fatigued, you don't want to do the breathe. You don't want to gather yourself when the bar is down here and then collecting, right? You want to do it when it's right up top, because you're at your strongest at that point. And if you want to exhale a bit and then inhale and brace again, that's the best part, or the best time to do it in the movement, not at the bottom here, because you're at your weakest here. So if you're trying to do all that stuff here and then push, you're not going to get it up. So it's kind of counterintuitive what you might be thinking. I'll link another video below just to highlight what I mean by that. Flies were relatively easy. I think I can up that no problem. For the rows, the same principle. I showed you my 4th set, and I think I start breaking down in my posture on the 7th rep as well. So I was telling you in about rounding your shoulders, not rounding your shoulders, like rolling them back and squeezing your lats down, keeping that all engaged. If you notice on around the 7th set, I'm not sure if it's so apparent, sorry, the 7th rep, my shoulders start rounding forward and my posture starts breaking down. It's because fatigue is setting in. So I have to be very mindful of that, because you're hunched over, right, on a row. And if your shoulders start to roll forward, your posture starts breaking down. That's how you could fuck up your back, right? Everything starts to break down. So you want to have that core engaged, rotate those shoulders back, engage the lats throughout the whole movement. So just something to keep in mind. For the calves, as you know, I do it on the Smith machine, and I do one leg at a time. I don't want to do both legs because of the imbalances it might create. If you notice as well, I take my time with that. So I bring the heel all the way down to the floor, and I stop there for a second, because what I'm doing is actually making the muscle completely relaxed. And before I go up again in the concentric phase, it's completely relaxed, and then I explode up. And sometimes it's hard to get up because you're at a completely relaxed state, but that's what really stresses the muscle and makes it grow. All right, so this week was 9 reps. As you notice, I stopped everything around the 5th rep and then switched sides because the lactic acid was really kicking in. So I just switched sides, did 5 on the other side, and then back to the other side and did 4. It's interesting to videotape myself because I didn't realize how I do each side completely differently, the way my leg is positioned. So something to keep in mind. Other than that, I think it was good. It took me longer this week. I think it was 53 minutes. Last week was only 42. So I'm not sure why. I felt I was doing everything without too much rest, but it is what it is. So that's it. I'm gonna get in my steps. I think I'm gonna take advantage of this nice weather and walk with Mambo. Poor Mambo's been only on the treadmill getting his steps in, but I think he'll enjoy outside, and so will I. All right, guys, let me know how your days went, and hope it went as well for you as it did for me. Take care.